You know, it's not always about length. Sometimes it's about what's in here. My ribs. Video game length is brought to a point of contention far more often than I believe it should be, as the duration of a game is superfluous when discussing its quality. But focusing on unimportant features is a trait that almost every gamer possesses. I mean, look at my entire channel. It's all a bunch of crap. While most casual gamers understand that length is meaningless, some squeaky wheels on the Twitter have pushed forward this idea, causing publishers to boast about the length of their game, as if anyone with a life and a job has time to play a 500-hour zombie game. So this game is actually perfect for those Twitter users. But I do believe that there is a length discussion that needs to be had at the helm of video games. I believe that almost every AAA game made of recent is a little too long. The fear of being the next Order 1876 looms over developers as they want their game to be worth its weight in crypto. This is a funny joke because neither crypto nor video games actually possess weight.
Funny.
But in this attempt, a lot of games fall into a hole of reusing content because making more gameplay is both monetarily and developmentally taxing, meaning that a lot of games end up with repetitive enemy types and room layouts. The new Halo suffered from this bloat in a big way, as its indoor sections were too often reused and the story slightly outstays its welcome. The game was wonderful in so many ways, but left me feeling like if it were just a little shorter, I would have loved it a little more. The modern Assassin's Creed games take this, but multiply it infinitely, as they never seem to know how much is too much. They drag on with the same content for hours and end up losing almost all their player base before the credits roll. Some games don't suffer from this reusing content problem, but still suffer from going on slightly too long. Uncharted 4 was set up to be one of my favorite games of all time, but it drew on my attention like the string of a bow, and at its height tried to hold on for far too long to its intense narrative until, at one point, my interest frayed and the bow snapped. This is a problem that a lot of heavy-handed narrative games have, and striking the right balance both in length and in purpose to that length can be nearly impossible. But AAA games tend to lean into being a little longer rather than leaving you with a hint of desire, and I think that is a big mistake. And even when the game might go to about the right runtime, they pump the game full of side objectives that feel hollow and make the game feel unfinished if you don't go for them. All this to say, as with most things in games, indies do it best. And that holds true for video game length, as indie developers always seem to know the perfect cutoff time for their game due to their intensely close relationship to the development of the game. Journey, Hollow Knight, and Hades all have vastly different runtimes, and in the case of the latter two, are even dependent on the player. But those runtimes feel incredibly organic due to the gameplay and the purpose of the games. They all accomplish their intended purpose in that time and then exit right on cue. Never leaving the player with a sense of longing or boredom, their cutoff is timed perfectly to suit the game's needs. The optimal length of a game is more dependent on the game itself, but I find that most AAA games tend to outstay their welcome, even if just by a small margin. And to me, I would rather have a game that is slightly too short than a game that is slightly too long, because that tacked on length can make a game start to feel bland, taking the emotion out of its intense moments and possibly ruining the experience for the player. But it's not all humdrum and sadness, as indies have found this perfect mix. So go out and try some indies and figure out what you think about video game.